Today I am at Puerh Brooklyn, and in this video, interview and tea sharing with Grippo, the owner of Grippo Art and Design and also the co-owner of this Puerh Brooklyn tea shop. Keep watching. Today I am in Brooklyn, and every time I travel I like to look for some tea places. I really like to find those tea shops that really sell the good tea that we like to drink. And I asked a friend actually where I can drink some good pu'er. And without thinking, she said I should come to Puerh Brooklyn. And that's what I did.
Welcome.
So, thank you. So today I'm with Grippo, and if you are here for the first time watching our videos, please make sure to click that subscribe button because we have a lot of videos on the pipeline that will come your way very soon, and the more subscribers we have, the more video you will get. So, Grippo, I was actually attracted by your shop because when I think about tea, for me tea is always in connection with art and with culture. And if you enter in this space, you see at the first glance that it is full of art. Because can I actually say that you are, in first place, an artist with a passion for tea?
I think that sounds quite okay.
Yeah?
I'm not sure whether those two overlap, but in a way, the things that you just said move me the same way. I think tea, for me, came after art. I was a trained artist and working in the field of art and design for many years, and then I found tea, and with tea, sort of like everything became a very harmonious mix. And I guess like in that way I can relate to things that sometimes I read about the classic Chinese literati, where they were meeting and drinking tea and reading poems and painting and hanging out under a beautiful tree. I guess like that's...
Does tea inspire also your art in a way?
In a way it does, but my art or the way I create has always been inspired by what's around me. So it's always been a reflection of the people around or the materials around, the needs. That's why I always, even being an artist, I related more to the design fields because I've been always trying to find solutions.
And in fact, as I was saying, when you enter the tea shop, if you are here in Brooklyn, just come down. We are in
Grand Street.
In Grand Street, right? In Grand Street, which is the name of the city quarter?
Williamsburg.
In Williamsburg. When you enter the tea shop, like I did a couple of days ago, you are likely to see Grippo on the right-hand side, behind this counter where we are now, busy either packing tea for some shipment or preparing some tea for the customer. But then on the other side of the shop, so basically in front of us, behind the camera, you have a combination of wooden tea shelves and white tea shelves hanging from the ceiling with tea and teaware.
Yes. And
I have to say, I see a lot of pu'er in front of me.
Yes,
so,
a little partial.
If I want to show you also something that here you have a tea menu.
Yes.
But you have also a pu'er menu. And for those that have come to the nannuoshan teahouse in Berlin, we also had two menus.
Oh, interesting.
We had the tea menu and the
pu'er
pu'er menu. So you see, you start in some commonality. I'm not an artist. I'm just, I just love tea. He's an artist, so there are differences, but there are a lot of commonalities between us. And another commonalities is that not only pu'er, but today you have chosen a tea for us to drink.
Yes, I chosen a white tea, the Moonlight White Tea from the wild forest in Yunnan. So Yunnan is where pu'er tea comes from. And although we are not going to drink a pu'er today, we're going to drink a white tea that comes from the same leaves that typically pu'er tea is made.
And these are the leaves.
These are the leaves. And it not only comes from Yunnan, but coincidentally, this is a tea that I really like very much. It also comes from the Nannuo mountain.
You see, and it was not planned, right? I just before starting the video, I look at the mini bingcha here that we have is 100-gram bingcha, and it was written from the Nannuo mountain. And I say, you see, we have another things in common.
Well, I also have been in the Nannuo. That was the first time. My first trip to China was going to Yunnan, going to Xinchuanbana and visiting the Nannuo mountain.
And
So I have always something
that's the
special.
reason why I called nannuoshan, because my first trip to China
Was
was,
also
to the
there,
Nannuo
yeah.
mountain. And now you have to see it also when you enter the shop. I told you, you see on the right side, you might see the counter with Grippo behind it, but that's not the end of the story. You have to walk until the end of the shop, and then the real thing show up to your eyes. You walk until the end, there is a glass rail, and on the grass rail you see you have to see under the grass rail and a big space open with a very high ceiling and concrete walls.
Yes,
and
our gallery.
Your gallery, and you have put in there, you have put some low wooden tables,
Yes.
with some felt pillow that I guess you did it yourself, right?
Most of the furnishings and like shelves and tables, counter, the low tables below, the shelf, it's all our own design. Typically,
Okay.
every detail that we put in the shop is either a vintage piece
Yeah.
that we found, or we usually try to design something new.
Unique
Yes,
also,
new
yeah.
and that works for us, and try to minimize that we buy it from somewhere else. I don't know, it's kind of like what we like doing, so it's always an excuse to
And
create.
in fact, I mean, I really noticed this. There is so much heart down there. But what about drinking some tea?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm heating up the water.
Okay.
Let's see this. I'm gonna put the leaves. Beautiful. I guess they're purple leaves. I'm not sure whether the moonlight is always from purple leaves.
Not always, yeah, but it can be.
Yeah.
So purple leaves is a particular kind of cultivar. These are the same kind of trees that is also used for Pu'er. So it's the Daejong, so the big leaves variety, if you want Camellia sinensis assamica, and it gives a different profile also to the tea. That's why the tea from Yunnan, I always say, it tastes like Yunnan. It's no matter if it is a green tea, a white tea, or a Pu'er, you have this particular taste from Yunnan that sometimes you are just thirsty of it.
Yeah. Because of the leaf. Yeah, the trees are unique.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Grippo, and how did you fall in love with tea actually?
I actually found tea because I was running away from somewhere else. I was like, after working in art and design for many years, I found myself very depressed in a way, very sad, because I didn't want to continue. I felt that my life and life in general needed something else than just trying to run season after season, making things and trying to convince people that they needed to buy them. You know, I felt like a little bit empty in that sense. But I've been working in that, doing that for so long that I didn't know how to get out of that. I didn't know how to change that. But I was not really happy. So I started thinking that I needed to do just another business, you know, just to do, commit to another business venture. And somehow, sort of magically, sort of coincidentally, someone close to me suggested tea, a tea shop, because I always liked tea and I always was traveling to the city to buy tea, and there was not a good tea shop in our area. So that was kind of like the beginning, sort of like just to plan a business and doing research about how to open a tea shop, what I needed to have. I thought I knew some about tea, and when I started realizing how big it was.
That's always like that,
Yeah,
right?
it was a little bit, I don't know, intimidating. But down the road I started relaxing because I realized no one knows everything about tea, and
everyone has a different opinion about it.
and
Right?
also,
So you can think whatever you want. It's not true or wrong.
I'll tell you what I feel. I'll tell you what I think,
feel. Yeah,
or what I have found out.
And now that you speak about feeling, one important thing is that when I was here 2 days ago, I didn't know which pu'er to choose, right? So when I am in a tea shop, usually I just ask a suggestion to the owner, which is the tea you prefer, and usually you are on the safe side.
Yeah.
So you have suggested me a tea from Linsang to drink, and I definitely go for it because Linsang is one of the places where the pu'er that I like are made. Usually they're not too bitter, they are very crispy, and I simply like tea from Linsang. But then when I came back from downstairs and I asked you, why do you like this tea? You mentioned spirituality.
Yeah, that's what the thing that actually, when I was working on the project, and then we finally, after almost 4 years of collecting information, finding teas, looking for teas, we managed to open the shop. Things started changing. Things started changing because of tea, I believe, because people started coming in. And then immediately I realized that people that came for tea were very different than the people I was used to be dealing in the art and in the design world, were actually all nice people. And
is it so bad in the fashion?
It's not. I mean, I cannot say that it's bad, but it's a very different industry where like things are more important than people in a way. And I feel that within tea there's a very strong component that builds a community and keeps people together and helps people to relate to each other. You know, like people from different ages sit together for tea. People with different interests are linked by tea, and so in a way, tea brought a very strong spiritual component to my life, realizing that tea was the one that helped us connect.
So the spiritual component came with tea in your life, not before that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I was already, previous to tea, I was into Chinese martial arts. So I guess it all happened at the same time.
I see.
But but I always think that tea was the element that sort of rounded up my life to give it more of a substantial base.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I find that I can relate to everything better now.
And to people.
Yes, people. I mean, my teacher says that through tea ceremony, basically you reconnect. You reconnect with yourself, you reconnect with others, and you reconnect with nature, and that's the power of the leaf. So that's kind of
for me personally. I'm not too much of a spiritual person, but that's, I would say, is the nice thing. Tea brings together people that are more and less spiritual, but nonetheless, I always find things in common. For example, when you say tea and nature, for me, I mean, tea comes from the nature, so it brings you, even in New York City, okay, even in Brooklyn, you feel the contact and being near to the nature. If you have,
we are nature.
We are nature as well.
We forget, and we
well.
tend to think that nature is something outside of ourselves. But we are environment. We are nature. We are Mother Earth.
And you have other people, because tea always brings people together. It's a social event. So that's why when I have the opportunities to do some videos with someone like Grippo, I always take the occasion of doing so. Because, okay, of course it's nice when you come back from work at home and you have your tea for yourself.
Yes.
It's also an important moment. But for me, personally, the best is sharing, having tea with someone else, and finding tea as a common element between person with whom otherwise you wouldn't have a lot to do. You know, my background, I'm an engineer, Grippo is an artist. If not tea, what else would bring us together, actually?
I don't know.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Another thing that comes to my mind is teaware. Like the way you select your teaware is also is part of your tea moment. It's not only the tea itself, but look, for example, at this tea set. Yeah, how for me, everything matches together.
Yeah.
Right? You have this rough gaiwan that matches super well with the cups that are also handmade. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if they are made or not, but you
There are
can tell.
different artists actually.
Yeah.
There are three different. This is one
There are
artist
three
from
different
the.
artists.
Yeah, this is an artist from the Czech Republic.
Mhm.
This is an artist also from the Czech Republic, and the cups were made by a tea sister that lives here in New York. So it's all different people
But they match
working with
together.
it. Yes.
And I think that this rough feeling that you see in the tea ware matches very well with the tea. I always say that tea from Yunnan tastes wild. You feel the forest. Yeah, if you go to Yunnan, that very humid climate,
Yes.
hot weather. Yeah, and
Like today.
in New York City. Now the sun is coming out again. Just a few seconds ago, it was pouring rain, like really in a rainforest,
Yes,
actually.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that in China there are other places. Also in Taiwan, there's like places where tea is grown wild. In Taiwan, they consider it wild after many years of leaving it alone.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
Yeah.
because it was wild to
Yeah.
start
It
with.
became wild
Yeah, it
because
became
it-
wild
yeah.
because they stopped feeding the tea, they stopped caring for the
Yeah.
plants, and then it becomes wild. But in Yunnan, definitely, those forests are wild.
The forests are wild. Well, in Taiwan, the tea was brought by humans. So, in that sense, you have
Not
to live.
all of it.
Not all of it.
No,
Well, but very
they are-
original.
They are native species too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a controversy about that, but
Okay.
I have a good friend that's done a lot of.
Well, you see, that's about
Research
tea,
on
right?
that.
There are people that say that tea comes only from the southern of China, so Yunnan, Myanmar, Laos, the northern Thailand, and there are other people that say it is also endemic in Taiwan, which is the truth. Either you go back 5,000 years, or we will never know, probably.
Yes, yeah.
But whatever, as long as it tastes and it makes our
But
life
definitely,
better.
we were saying that in Yunnan, it definitely those forests are really wild, really,
And also
they
the
live
climate,
like that,
yeah. You have that the tea plants in Yunnan grows all the year long. While when you go to where it is colder climate,
Yeah.
then in winter it stops growing, and then
Yeah.
in spring it does.
It's
it
a
starts
one-season
sprouting.
tea, yeah.
It's a seasonal tea, but in Yunnan it's not. So of course also the taste is affected. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I wanted to share with you this tea moment that I had here at Puerh Brooklyn.
Thank you.
And thank you. And if you end up in New York City, sooner or later everyone pass by New York. I think just take your time, and I would say take a couple of hours to pass by this place. Leave the noise of the street out. Enter this room. Go downstairs, select the tea, and enjoy your tea moment.
Thank you so much.
This is all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up. It's very important for us, and if you haven't done it yet, click on that subscribe button. The more subscribers we get, the more video will come your way. Thank you very much. Enjoy your tea moment, and bye-bye.
Bye.